Okay, welcome to the next chapter in which we are going to simplify all of the authentication getting, client handling, all of these ideas. We have a lot of information to store. I have created a client class. The client class is here to hold all of the information about the client, the broadcaster, the person who is currently playing your game and streaming it on Twitch. As we know, we already have a client ID for our application. As well, we have created a client secret. You don't necessarily need one, but too many security isn't really a problem. We need a place to store the authentication token, which we haven't gotten yet, but we know how to get. I have made a class, we'll see it afterwards, that contains the information about the broadcaster. It's really simple, it's just their name and their ID. And a few properties to tell if we have the broadcaster informations. Actually, I'm going to rename that as broadcaster infos and as an authentication token. That way, the client is able to tell us if we need to get an authentication token or if we need to get the broadcaster informations. There are multiple cases that we can think of. The first case is, this is the first time I'm starting the application. I'm going to need an authentication token. This is going to require to get the token and get the broadcaster informations. The second case is, I already have asked for the authentication token and I just want to create a client with the informations I have. So first constructor, I have nothing. Second constructor, I do have the authentication token. So let's make a small imagining of how the user is going to use this. We create a new client. So far, I only have the client ID and the client secret because I don't have an authentication token. I keep these informations in a static class, just so you can see them and hack my system. Okay, so we have created a new client. So far, this client only holds the client ID and the client secret. So now we are going to need to get an authentication token. We need the authorization from Twitch to do things. So we add a get auth token, which takes as a parameter the list of the scopes. Do you remember? In the documentation of Twitch, every function tells us that we need certain scopes. Thanks to Hellcat, we are just going to use their system and get a callback when the authentication token has been gotten. So all we need is the list of the scopes. This part has been viewed in chapter 3 and this function is going to get called with the authentication token, which we will save once we have gotten it. Actually, this is called back by code with the OAuth2 token. So now our client has an authentication token. I create the client. I get the token with manage polls and wait for it to be ready. We will wait until the client has an auth token. And now we have a big problem. Let's make our poll, okay? Let's create the poll. So requested body. First information we need is the broadcaster ID. The ID of the broadcaster that's running the poll, or basically on which Twitch channel is the poll being created. And you don't have this information. You've never gotten it. You have a big long authentication token for the rights to do things on the user's Twitch channel. You have a code for your application. You have a secret code to know which version of your application you're using. But you don't even know the name of the broadcaster. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Luckily, Twitch thought about that, thank you very much Twitch, with the get users request. The get users request allows you to get information about one or more users. You get their user ID, login name, etc, etc. We can only get 100, but so far we need only one. And there's one thing very important about all of this. If you don't specify any IDs or login names that you want the information of, the request returns information about the user in the access token. And we have an access token. So if we ask this with an access token and no information about who we are asking it about, it's going to give us the information about the person we've asked for. We need to send a GET request to this URL. So we've already sent a POST request. GET requests are much easier. The good idea would be that the client has a function to directly get the information about the user. So let's do that. And once the getUser request sends us a response, it looks like this. So we are going to need to parse this with the JSON object library. We have all the informations here. Ooh, that's a lot of information. Let's make a class to hold them, okay? So we create a class user, since it's the getUser's function. I'm going to hold only the informations I need. What information does it give? I want the ID, I want the login, and I want the display name. Ooh, maybe the broadcaster type, actually. Yeah, we'll get the broadcaster type afterwards. So we want to store the ID, the login, and the display name. We make a static function because we don't have the user yet. Get client user info. We want the user information of this client, and we want a callback to be called once the user is received. We did the send get request extension for client. So the client sends a get request to this URL, which is the URL on the documentation. Client send request to get the users. We don't give any additional information. And once we get the JSON of the answer, we can create our new user, which will parse the JSON. So the JSON is the answer from the Twitch API, which looks like this. We get the data array, we get the ID, we get the login, we get the display name. And like I said, I think I want to know the broadcaster type. So we need somewhere to store it. Public string broadcaster type. Data.getField out broadcaster type. The name of the variable in the JSON is broadcaster type. The default value is nothing. Default value is this. And boom, there we go. We have taken the broadcaster type information from our user. So now we create a client with our ID and our secret ID. We get a notification token, which allows us to create a poll. We wait for it to be here. Now we need to know the name of the client. Get broadcaster info, which is the function we've talked about. And once we get the user, we just store. And once the request is finished and has given us the user, we save this information. Broadcaster info is now going to be the value we've asked for. So we create the client. We get the authentication token. We get the broadcaster information. And now we have everything we need to send requests on the Twitch chat of this user. Want to see it in action? Let's add a breakpoint at the beginning of our start coroutine. We create a game object with the test that's going to run, and we start the game.
2 hours later.
C'est long.
A few moments later.
We create a new client. We save the client ID and the client secret. The client has been saved. Now we ask it to get an authentication token. It's going to call back this function with the token. So let's add a breakpoint here. We let the Hellcat do his magic. Let's just add a breakpoint here. So while this is happening, the game is waiting. And look at that. If you press authorize, Six Legends will be able to create a poll on your channel. As you can see, when you click authorize, you will be redirected to localhost 8080. Currently, on my computer, there is a web server running, listening to port 8080. We authorize. Okay, we've gotten the response with the access token, and we save it in this variable. And now we have an access token. We close everything, and the web server isn't running anymore. And now the client has an authentication token. We don't have broadcaster information. We use our system, which will send a GET request with this client to this URL with no parameters, and which will call back this function once it's over. It's over. We have the JSON containing the information about my channel. We parse it, and now the user contains my display name is Vincent Paquin, my ID is this, and my login is this. And we tell the client that we have found the user. We save it, and it's done. So this is going to be true next time. Client is now fully ready. It has the authentication token, the information about the broadcaster, and it's ready to send any request that was in the authentication token we've asked. In the final version of the library, I am going to add a save and load system for the client constructor. We have everything we need, and so now all we are going to need is to actually create these requests. So on the next tutorial, we are going to create a poll class, which will contain everything we need to start, manage, and end a poll. See you then!